It's that time of year again, and with all my friends going away to college, I felt like I was kind of missing the good old days. So then I went, what's the best way to relive them? Obviously, it's the film based on one of my favorite childhood book series, which also so happens to be about school. Yes, of course, today we're watching Middle School: The Worst Years of My Life, produced by
Alpha and Omega 2, a holiday adventure. Alpha and Omega 2, a holiday adventure.
Hey Kyle, you know there's usually more than one production company for a movie, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. What other company produced this movie?
This movie made me throw up. This movie made me vomit. This movie made me angry. This movie made me violent.
So I'd seen this movie before, and I knew how much of a disgrace it was, which is a shame because I loved this book as a kid, but not just this book. I love the full series. So I was really disappointed to see how much this movie was just another mindless children's film that doesn't make any sense. What do you mean by that, Kyle? Well, let's just look at the characters, for instance. On the left side of the screen, you're currently looking at James Patterson's art, or Chris Tabbitt's art for this book. And on the right side of the screen, here's how all those characters look in the movie. There's no similarities. Some of the characters in the book don't even exist in the movie, and some of the characters in the movie don't exist in the book. It's really distracting for someone who's read the book to look at Leo and go, why does he look like that? Why did they make that decision? But even just from a storytelling standpoint, this kid can get away with basically anything. He, at one point, electrically engineers the bell and rigs the sprinkler system. And I'll admit the book is a bit far-fetched, but I didn't realize how insane some of these things were until you see an eel swimming around the fish tank, and you have to wonder, where did all that water come from? How did he buy an eel? And even like, oh, he's using his stepdad's credit card. When I buy something like an eel, my credit card company would notify me and say, hey, wait a minute, you've never bought anything like this before. Is something up? And that would have been it. I would have paused my credit card and been like, okay, I need a new credit card. Someone has my PIN. But anyway, I have a long list of things here. I don't know if you can see, but all down this right side is a list of things that I had problems with about this movie. So let's just pull some of these out of the box, shall we? Miller, the school bully. He looks like a 4-year-old. I get they're middle schoolers, and I'm older, but he doesn't even look like someone who would threaten me when I was in middle school. And I was about that big in middle school. So, if you compare Miller to Raph, we'll get to that. If you compare Miller to Rafe, there's not that much size difference. In the books, Miller was this big, scary kid who would fail middle school 8 times, and Rafe is this little scrawny kid. But when they're the same size, there's no real threat, in my opinion. And Miller never really does anything other than shoves him a little bit to make you think that he is a threat. That's dumb. But let's talk about my biggest problem with this movie that I forgot they did for a second there. In the books, the two brothers Leo and Rafe are named after the same people the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are named after, the Renaissance artists Raphael and Leonardo. Me, as a child reading these books, always meant that you would pronounce their names Leo and Raph. Similar to how the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of use their nicknames, Raph for Raphael and Leo for Leonardo. This movie insists that the character's name is pronounced Rafe. And I'm not saying that wasn't how it was intended to be pronounced, but I have never heard anybody's name as Rafe before. And it is the dumbest name I've ever heard. And I don't know, in this movie they never talk about the Renaissance artists, so maybe they take that out of the canon, but I can't ever get past them calling Rafe Cachadorian, because when I read this as a child, it only made sense for it to be Raph. And that just, I don't know if that's really, like, the biggest problem with this movie, but I think it is a problem with this movie, at some degree of importance. But let's see what else we have on our list here, shall we? Georgia can drive. What? Why? She's like a third grader. How can she even reach the pedals? This movie's trying to convince me that some third grade girl can drive better than I can. What? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't happen in the books. It's pure stupidity. It doesn't... I don't have to go into that anymore. If you know a single third grader who can drive, please let me know. This movie's claiming she can drive flawlessly. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't really serve any purpose. Why did you add that? Why? What's next on our list of problems? They talk about boobs in this movie. Look, I get you can throw in some adult jokes every now and then, but they're talking about, like, the shape of boobs, and they're in middle school, and they're like, oh, they look really accurate, and the other kid's like, oh, I hope so, and it's like, what? So, what? How did that get past censors? How did that get a PG rating? I think I get that, like, Drake and Josh said that word a lot, but it never went into, like, it just used it as an insult. As a child, I always thought that was just a word that Drake and Josh made up. It wasn't, but I didn't know that at the time. But they're actually talking about boobs here. They're talking about, this movie is just one nightmare spiraling around. It never truly stops unless you think about what's happening. It was a disaster. I can't think of a cohesive way to list what's happening in this movie, because there is no cohesive way to list what's happening. There's one point in the movie where they're all dancing in the halls because it's raining paint from the sprinklers, and it's playing some song, I don't know. I don't remember. It's some dated song from like 2015. And it made me wonder, like, is there music playing because the sprinklers are going down? Because everyone's dancing in this hallway full of paint for seemingly no reason. Also, everyone's in white, coincidentally, this day. So, this seems just dumb. It doesn't add anything to the story. Once again, it just is there to be like, oh, look, they're dancing in the paint, even though there's no music playing.
Hey guys, quick update. I didn't say it earlier, but I do think that is the biggest problem with this movie. Not only is it incohesive and dumb, but it doesn't ever. It has scenes like this where it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't connect to anything, and it doesn't have a purpose. George driving, the paint dance scene, it's fluff to a movie that already needed more story. But anyway, back to the video.
Everything about this movie is stupid and incohesive. But I will give it this. The first time I watched this movie, I recorded on my DVR. And there must have been something wrong with the channel it was recording on that day or whatever. But when I went to watch it, it was in this aspect ratio. It was much harder to watch when it was like this. But the movie was not filmed like that, and so that was actually a positive surprise when I saw that, rewatching it for this video. Another positive thing I have about this movie is the casting. I thought a lot of the actors did a good job with what they were given. I don't know any of their names, and I won't bother to learn them. But Rob Riggle, who plays Bear, who is a fairly well-known actor, maybe not huge name, but he's in like TV shows and stuff. He did a really good job as the character. I think he's probably the best character in this movie just because of how Rob portrayed him. It really gave off, I don't care about these stepkids, but I have to pretend to for the mom. He really pulled that off, like the character in the book kind of has. Other actors I thought were really good in this include both Rafe, Georgia, and Leo. Scratch that, just Rafe and Georgia, and the principal. And Jeannie, if that's her name, I don't remember his love interest's name. They all did an okay job. The problem I have with the mom is just she's boring and she doesn't add anything to the character. It feels, and it just feels like she's like a two-dimensional character. And all these characters feel two-dimensional, but some of the actors at least gave them choices. Like the principal kind of took his own liberties on how to play this character. It feels, and even if he didn't, props to him. The two main characters, even though the writing is terrible, the actors they got, Jeannie and Rafe, did a really good job at portraying how these characters are, at their core personalities. And Leo is absolutely nothing like Leo in the books. I don't remember a whole lot about Leo in the books, but I'm fairly sure he was silent, and he was mischievous, but not like this mastermind, per se. Because, I mean, spoiler alert for the book and the movie, the plot twist is he's been dead this whole time. And speaking of that plot twist, this movie just throws it out there like it's nothing. That should be a huge moment, and they're just like, Leo's been dead all this time, and it sucks, I know. It's like, wait, hold on, Leo's dead? You telling me this character who's been here since the beginning of the film and has made physical interactions with the world, he's dead? In the book, I remember being shocked, and I remember them making a huge deal out of it. But in the movie, they just toss it like it was nothing. Like it was just something you should already know. It's so disheartening to see a movie treated like this. I could go on with my list. I could go on and say that the scene in which Georgia is introduced doesn't make any sense because she has a dog and then she doesn't have a dog in the book. I don't know if she does or not. I'm going to be real here. I don't care. Her dog in the movie does nothing to impact my hatred of this film. I said, there's a list. I could go on. But I feel like there's no purpose on going on because it's all just more nonsense piled onto more nonsense. And if you really want to know how much nonsense is in this movie, watch it yourself. It's on Netflix. But I highly recommend you don't. I strongly recommend you do not watch this movie. At the time I first watched this, it was my least favorite movie of all time. You could have named this movie in middle school the worst movie of all time. And at the time of its release, that would have been accurate. Artemis Fowl got a lower score because Artemis Fowl was just bad and incohesive. But Artemis Fowl didn't come out for like 4 years after this, so it is the worst movie of its time. Now, everyone's favorite part of the show, the part where I rank it, because God knows I had a hard time doing this. So, for respect to the source material, I give this a 0, because the only thing it really keeps is the names of the characters. It doesn't respect the intelligence of the audience to be able to follow any sort of story, so it just doesn't really have one. It has a very loose thread of plot, and it tries juggling too many things with that plot, I feel, with its like hour and a half runtime. It probably should have been a little bit longer if they wanted to make it better, but I don't know if that would have fixed it. It wouldn't have fixed it. For humor, I'm giving this movie a 1, because, where I hate to admit it, I did laugh at a couple of the jokes. Some of the actors are really good at portraying characters. Again, they've done other works before, and they got a laugh or two out of me. Which is more than I can say about the last time I watched this movie. I don't think I laughed once. But, for entertainment, this movie gets a 1 star, because, or a 0 stars, I'm sorry. Because, even though I chuckled once or twice, doesn't mean I enjoyed it. There was an hour and a half of dread, with a pause in the middle so I could write down all the things that had happened in the first half that were absolutely stupid. If you are so inclined to watch this movie, please use something like Netflix where you're not paying this movie directly. Don't rent this movie. Don't purchase this movie. Don't give CBS Films a reason to make another one. I mean, that's all I have to say about this movie. If you're interested in train wrecks or bear attacks, you're gonna like this movie because it feels like both of those are happening at once. So sit down with your sushi and your goldfish. Side note: sushi and goldfish, really interesting flavor combination. Also, probably why I threw up about 6 hours ago. But anyway, and enjoy a really bad film. Or don't. Please don't. But anyway, we do Unskripted here every Thursday. And next week we have a really special episode for you, so stay tuned. And we also do comics every month on Exodus Comics on Twitter and Instagram, and at Exodus Comics Official on DeviantArt. So you can check us out there. Everything's free. And I think game videos are going to be coming back very soon. So keep an eye out for those. Those will be every day right here on Squad Entertainment Inc. So subscribe and hit that bell for updates on when gaming videos finally return. Thank you guys for watching, and we hope to see you next week. Goodbye.